I don't want to be talked to in a public restroom like ever by anybody, especially not like straight ladies telling me that I'm in the wrong restroom.
Oh. Hey, hello, I am Kay Anderson, and you are listening to Lost Spaces, the podcast that mourns the death of queer nightlife. Now, every episode I talk to a different person about a venue from their past, the memories that they created there, and the people that they used to know. This week's conversation has got me thinking a lot about small town queer bars and how at one time they were the only place that you could go to. And so it didn't matter if you didn't like the music, it didn't matter if you didn't like the vibes. You just kind of had to suck it up and go along because that was the only space that you could access. And how that's not really the case anymore. But I am getting ahead of myself. So let me introduce the venue we're talking about and our guest. We are headed to the small college town of Northampton, Massachusetts, to visit Diva's nightclub, which closed in 2016 after 15 years in business. And it's also the second venue with the name Diva in it this year, which is a trend. I'm spotting a trend. To show us the way, singer-songwriter Chris Pureka, who took time from promoting their new EP, The Longest Year, to talk all about post-university uncertainty, what am I going to do with my life? The loss of mass media and shared cultural milestones, and how truly terrible they think the original L Word TV show was. Chris moved to Northampton in the early noughties after a big career break in doing a 3-month cross-US tour with the folk poet Alex Olson, and started a new job, got dumped, and wrote a breakup album. So, good times. But it was in Divas that they were able to connect with their community, meet new people, and try out cheesy pickup lines, which we're going to hear more about. Let's get into it.
Within like a couple weeks of being there, I got broken up with. And so I was like moving to a new place, didn't know anybody. And then my girlfriend broke up with me. And so I was like, okay, like I'm really like on my own right now.
Yeah.
But
the sequence of events is you moved there and then you got dumped.
Yep, like really quick.
Was there a plan that she would come there too?
No, that's the thing. Like there wasn't really a plan. So it was kind of like, she moved back home to Minneapolis, and there wasn't really like a long game. So, it was probably like a thing that was going to happen anyway, but I didn't think it was going to happen right then at all. I was really blindsided by it. Yeah.
And so you've just told me that you didn't really have a plan, and I'm going to ask a question about what your plan was. Just
Sure.
go with me on this,
Yeah,
right? So your plan in terms of being a singer-songwriter, being a musician, what was kind of going through your head at that time when you just moved to Northampton?
Yeah, so I moved to Northampton for this job that we mentioned, which was not a music job. I got a job at Smith College in the biology department. I worked in a microbiology lab. I worked for a professor who was he was great. I loved the job, honestly. And I was in charge of kind of like managing the lab and managing the like undergrads a little bit and training them a little and like keeping the lab like flowing.
And how clean was your lab coat?
We didn't wear lab coats that often,
What?
actually. I know. It was a little more casual.
Oh no. So you
Yeah.
didn't have a pen protector in your pocket?
No.
Oh man.
We were
Okay, well that's just
no.
shattered my image of
But
you.
there were lots of petri dishes. Do you like that? Is that
What
sexy?
about Bunsen burners? Lots of Bunsen burners?
Yeah, there was some of that. There's microscopes.
Okay, all right.
pipettes. Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah,
okay,
so that was my plan, that was the plan was like I'm gonna do this biology job but I was like also planning on, I immediately kind of started playing open mics in the area and getting my start in music in that way, and trying
but
to build.
but so in your head, was music like the plan, or was music something that you also did?
And it was neither of those things. It was like I was like
Ah,
really passionate about both of those things, and I was just like, I want to see what happens with everything. At that point, that's like pretty much how I felt. I think I made an EP before I went on that first tour, but I hadn't made my first like proper studio album yet. I basically like wrote all those songs right then, and I wrote my whole first album. It's like a total breakup album, and I wrote it like during the first year or two that I lived in Northampton.
lots of long, lonely nights on your own,
Yeah,
pining.
yeah,
Wonderful inspiration.
yeah, yeah. With no friends and nowhere to be. Just gonna be home here with my guitar. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like living the dream. Um, so with that, then, did you consciously try and get out and meet people?
Did I consciously? I mean, I guess I did. So because I worked at the college, at Smith College, and I had gone to Wesleyan, which is like just an hour away, and I had a really close friend that had gone to Smith. And so there was a lot of overlap kind of with the school, and I knew some people that were in younger classes, but I didn't know anybody very well, but I would like see people out and be like, "Oh, like we've met, like I know you through blah." So there was like a
Hmm.
little bit of that. Yeah, I would try to meet people. I ended up, meeting one of my best friends and closest musical collaborators, like at the time, just at like a really random house party, and we were both like the weird introverts that wanted to play guitar in the corner. So we just like hit it off.
At a party, did you
It
bring your
wasn't
own
like
guitar?
a rager party. It was just like, no, someone had a guitar. So we were like, oh, do you know this one? Like, let's play this cover song or whatever. It was really kind of cute. We still talk about it.
Aw.
Yeah, that's my friend Sebastian Renfield, and he actually plays something or sings on something on all of my recordings to this day. So he's just like been my longest collaborator, and even on this most recent EP that came out in December, he sings on it. So
Aw.
yeah,
And so like when you're a singer-songwriter and or like just a musician in general, and you think about the scene, oftentimes you're not thinking about the queer scene, you're thinking about the music scene.
yeah.
Where did you gravitate?
Um, there was both things. I think like one of the first shows I played in Northampton was like at this random coffee shop called Javanet. so so early 2000s,
So
and
millennium. Yeah.
and but like a whole bunch of like queers worked there, and so like I like knew the people. It wasn't like a queer coffee shop, but it was like
Hmm.
a lot of queer people hung out there, and Sebastian worked there for a while, and like a bunch of other people that I knew. And so I ended up playing like a weird show in like their basement. So there was like that overlap. And then because I had like kind of got my start like opening for Alex, that was like a very gay audience. And so like whatever handful of fans I had made were all gonna be queer. That was like kind of where I started my fan base. But there were two different scenes though, and
Yeah.
like there wasn't like a queer music venue in town, but there
Yeah.
was there was a club.
A club
A club.
with a wonderful name, Divas.
Yeah.
And so this is not necessarily a fully formed question in my head, so I'm going to rabbit on. But when you're used to that musician scene and you're used to going to like live music and like bars,
Mhm.
sometimes it can be a bit jarring to go on the queer scene and it not be any of the things that you're used to. Was it
Yeah.
was it like that for you, or was it just was it nice variety?
No. No, I mean, yeah, that's 100%. Yeah. I'm also mostly an introvert, and I don't like to dance, and I like folk music. So like going to a nightclub is like pretty out there for me, but that kind of leads us to the whole like, you know, if you build it, they will come. Which is
Wait,
like
what do you mean?
the queers will go to the queer spaces. Like there wasn't like another option. There wasn't like,
Uh,
oh, but there's this really chill bar that's also like a queer place, you know, like it wasn't a
mm-mm.
big town, it wasn't a big city, and we didn't have a version of a queer scene that was like a bar. So,
Multi-dimensional.
so then
Yeah.
we go to the club.
Mm. It's really interesting to hear you say that because you're an introvert, you struggle more in the nightclub scene. Because as someone who identifies as an introvert myself, I like the fact that the music is so loud that no one can talk to me.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Whereas when you're in a bar, everyone's like, hey, what are you
Chatty.
doing? Let me come and sit
Yeah.
with you. And you're like, ah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I think I'm like I'm also like highly sensitive, and so it's like overstimulating, I think, the club thing.
Mm-mm.
I'm just kind of like it's like overwhelming, and like I mean that can be like fun too. I'm not like saying like I never like that thing. It's just like I'm like happiest like in a one-on-one conversation that's like really deep and like connecty.
Yeah, connectee.
Yeah. Emphasis on connecty. So it's like once you're just kind of like, I don't know, just anonymous or I don't know. I mean, I can get into that too, but I think probably the biggest factor there is just that I don't like to dance. Like I never was like a dance person.
Not even like standing on the side and shimmying?
I mean, there might be a little shimmy.
So you're not like, oh, that's interesting.
Like there's definitely some foot tapping, but like I'm not gonna like be out there like kind of getting wild. That's just never been my thing.
And so I'm not trying to convert you or anything in anything that I'm about to say, but have you ever just gone and like danced all night and then had that release?
Have you ever just dance like no one's watching?
Okay, I wasn't that cheesy, but yes, I was getting there.
Oh man. I have actually. Yeah. I like can remember I can count probably on one hand, and that was worthwhile. Like it's not like I don't regret that. It's fun.
I went dancing and I
Yeah.
didn't regret it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not yeah, it's interesting.
Is there like a fear of being seen dancing and like looking like an idiot? Or is it
Oh,
just,
yeah, there's that. There's like I mean, I think for a long time it felt like there was something hard like that was difficult gender-wise about it? Like I think like
oh,
I didn't know how to dance like in my gender that I wanted to be or something or
ah, because you hadn't practiced is not the right word, but you
I
hadn't
mean,
kind
like
of
my
like
gender is basically like grandpa. So it's sort of like how does grandpa dance?
with a Zimmer frame. Yeah, easy.
What? Oh, the walker? Is that what you call
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I kind of do the grandpa shuffle. Like, I'm not like, I don't listen to a lot of music with like heavy dance beats. I don't know. I think if there was like a club that was like a dance night that was just like 90s music that I like alternative rock, like
Or the
90s songs that,
Charleston. Yeah.
yeah, or the foxtrot. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it was a combo of like, yeah, not super connecting with the music and then just kind of being like, this isn't my thing. But yeah, I'm sure like,
Yeah.
in a different alternate universe, I could have like been a star.
With your tap shoes on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I'm making lots of assumptions in what kind of bar Divas was, but if I am correct in my assumptions, they probably played very awful dance pop music.
Yeah, the music, I
That's
mean,
not why you go, right?
no, but I mean, at the time, like, I don't even know if I wouldn't have known better, honestly. Like, there was still just kind of like a mainstream, and like they were just playing mainstream music, and like, the things, Cher.
Share,
Probably
share.
a little Shania Twain just for some variety.
Oh. Yeah. So like I said, rubbish music. This point that you've just made, like there was a mainstream. Do you think there's not a
Yeah.
mainstream now?
I kind of like, I almost don't, but maybe that's just like a weird, like, I don't think it's as strong.
Well, see, I'm struggling with this, and whether it's just like that I'm now old and like so I'm just like
Yeah.
not like none of it's on my
Not tuned
radar,
in. Yeah.
or whether it is that like there's this watering down of mass media and there is no mainstream. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. I don't really know if that's the right language to say or to call it, but I think like there is this, like, there has been this shift where I think it used to be like you could talk about a band and like everyone would at least like know who you were talking about. And like that's just not even like everyone's listening to completely different things. Like, and I find it difficult to connect kind of like I think I'm not
Mm.
like a fan. I certainly don't write mainstream music. I've never been in the mainstream music industry in any way. But I do like having like common ground that we're all like kind of like experiencing a cultural thing together. And I
Mm.
miss that. I miss like having whether it be shows that we're watching or music we're listening to, I'm like, I feel like we're all in our little like bubbles, like watching and listening. And I don't,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with that in terms of music, but I think that there are still those shows that everyone seems to be watching.
there's so many shows now though. It's like, it's
There is so
bonkers. I'm
many.
like, it used to just be like the regular networks. And I mean, I'm not saying that was
You'd have
better.
four options. Yeah.
Yeah. And so obviously you just knew everyone had seen it at least once and either liked it or didn't like it. Everyone had an opinion to offer. Yeah. There's so many shows. Like I mean, I think like I still talk to people about that and I'll be like, oh, I like saw this really cool thing. And it's just interesting. There's not like a focal reference point, like a central
Mm,
reference
mm.
point for everybody anymore. Yeah.
The thing that I think is really interesting is how much this has exposed how mass media controlled all of our
Yeah.
thoughts. And like it used to be like, okay, everyone, we're moving on from disco now. Now we're into punk. Now
Yeah.
we're into this. Now we're into this.
Yeah.
And everyone just went along with it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh no, I'm gonna keep listening to punk. I'm gonna stay over here.
Yeah.
Piss off.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously like there's obviously great benefits and like freedoms that have come from that. And I'm not like saying that I
Yeah.
don't. It's just different.
And you miss those
Yeah.
cultural touch points
Yeah.
that we used to have in common.
Yeah. Like I don't even know how we would talk about like right now, like culturally. I have no idea. But I am older, like in the same way that you're saying. So it could be that I'm like a little tuned out to like that stuff. But
Anyway, so dancing, not your thing.
right. Yeah.
But so then what would you do when you go to a club?
Well, uh, watch, people watch and drink. So Divas, it was I mean, I lived in Northampton for 8 years. And so,
Hmm.
and then I guess I heard that Divas closed in 2016. I saw it kind of evolve the whole time that I was there. They like opened up sections that were more like a bar. And then they started having like L word nights when the first, not season, what was, iteration, I guess, of that show.
Series, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Cause now it's on like the reboot or whatever. And the first time around L word, they would do like whatever Sunday nights they would screen it, and at the time it was really expensive actually to like have a Showtime subscription or not even subscription, whatever it was called, I don't even know, to like have a
Hmm.
fancy like cable thing. So a lot of people go to that, and I mean, I didn't really I can't say that I loved the show at all, but it was, a
Oh,
cultural
so
moment.
you're not going to tell me you're a Shane.
No. Uh,
Is Shane the hairdresser one?
Yeah,
That's the
Shane's
only
the
one I
hairdresser
know.
one. I mean, if I had to pick one, I guess, yeah, but I think That show was like, I mean, it was so out there. It was like so unrelatable to me.
Oh, really?
It,
So I have
yeah,
to admit, I haven't actually seen it ever.
good. Yeah, don't watch it.
Was it just trash?
Yeah, it's a soap opera. I mean, it's literally a soap opera, and it's just like it's so over the top with like ridiculous drama that's like it's terrible. But
Well,
it was special though, because it was like, at the time it was a really big deal. And just this, I mean, I think I was frustrated because I'm like, here we are with finally like with a queer show showing
mhm.
like queer women, and there's like one supposedly like butch character, and she's like wearing makeup. Like, what's happening? Like, this is so dumb. I mean, it was like they didn't have any like masculine of center, like authentic kind of characters on the show whatsoever. And I found that frustrating. Like everyone on the show except for I don't even want to go there about the trans characters that they attempted
Oh,
on that
I don't
show.
know anything.
It wasn't good.
Oh,
But
so let's not
but
focus on that.
let's
So,
not focus on that. Yeah.
but
But I mean, I don't have a positive thing to say. So if you're waiting for the positive, I don't know. I mean, the positive thing was it was a first step, and everything happens kind of incrementally. Like that was it, we got that. And I mean, I'm still kind of like, cool, like where are the kind of genderqueer, non-binary characters on TV? It's still pretty few and far between.
mm-mm.
Can name like three of them.
So recognizing that L Word was a terrible TV show, you still went to these nights.
Yeah, 100%.
Why?
For the same reason that I went to Diva is like beggars can't be choosers, man.
But
Like
okay,
we will take your scraps and we will love them and like
like, so how do you navigate that? So are you the person that goes there and watches it with everyone, but then judges everyone who's
no,
enjoying
I
it?
mean I'm saying in hindsight, like, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners to your show that are going to be like, what the bleep, like this is like this is a great show, like people love this show. I mean, I'm opinionated and that's my opinion, but at the time, like, yeah, I mean, what I will say it was still like a really big deal. It still felt like visibility in this like tiny way, and it felt like kind of like chipping away at something, the
Hmm.
glacier basically. And
Mm.
I still didn't feel represented on the show, but I felt like a lot of my friends and peers felt represented, and that was big. And like just having a gay show that was featuring women was a big deal. I mean, this is another example though of like how like a cultural mainstream, like, it kind of draws people together. It's like even if you don't like it, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna
Mm.
go in, then I'm gonna talk about what I don't like about it. And it's still like a connection piece and a community building piece, I think. And that's definitely what it was. And so yeah, I mean, but I also will say, it's not like I was like going every single week or something. I went sometimes, and I definitely went to some of the drag shows. Something that was cool was that they did have some drag king nights, which is not super
Oh,
common. And so
wow.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty great. But I think there was this kind of like there was a community piece around the club, and there was actually way more my speed kind of place that was a queer bar closer to campus that shut down right when I moved to Northampton. So yeah,
Oh. So was it one of those situations where everyone's like, oh, if you were here last year, there was this
yeah,
really great bar?
yes, definitely, like literally, yes. There was this really great bar, and it shut down right before I moved to town. So that kind of like once that closed, I think we really just had divas.
Mm.
And I was still like grateful to have that. That was still pretty cool to have. I mean, a lot of towns don't have anything, you know. They don't have any
Yeah,
queer
yeah.
spaces. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
And I think it's interesting I'm going to put my words on this, so please correct me if you disagree. I think it's interesting when you're accessing a space where you're kind of ambivalent about the space, but you recognize why it's of value to you. And some of this is going to be a bit complicated by the fact that you're looking back 20 years. And so you're projecting like the way you currently view things onto this.
Yeah.
But what was it like entering that space with that kind of feeling about it?
I mean, I don't think I overthought it very much. I was just like happy to meet my friends, you know. It wasn't like there was a super vibrant nightlife in Northampton. There wasn't even another club. So there were actually a lot of straight people that would go, not like a lot, but that would happen like some night,
Ah,
you know,
okay.
because there wasn't really another place to go dance.
Hmm.
Like I definitely remember, yeah, trying to chat up a couple girls one time, totally like, and they're all like, "Oh, well, like my boyfriend," and I was like, "You're what now? You're hey what? Like what? This
Oh, it's just
divas. What are
so
you doing?"
rude. So rude.
So yeah, but I mean, at the time I wasn't really overthinking it. I was just kind of like, well, do I want to like be in a loud club tonight or not? And you know,
Hmm.
but I did want to mention one other thing that was really cool, which is that like I ended up meeting one of my best friends at the bar, which, you know, it's not really common to meet people at bars. I don't think we like think that it is, you know,
Because of
we're like,
TV, because of mass
I
media.
guess so. I don't know. I definitely have like this misconception that like you're going to like meet a date in a bar. And I think like you can meet a hookup in a bar, but I don't think a lot of people like meet. I don't know. Maybe I'm actually like, I think maybe you're going to disagree with me on this. Because I think like I think it actually might be different in the men's scene. I think that might be more of a thing. But I've never met anyone I've like dated just like at a randomly stranger at a bar. And I've definitely like tried.
Wait, so are we talking about friendship? Are we talking about
Either
dating? Are
way,
we
but
talking about
so, but
both?
and the reason I brought it up is because I actually made like I started talking to like a random kind of person, kind of like a friend of someone that I knew,
Mm.
and we ended up talking and we talked all night. And actually, in this situation, actually, we did end up dating for a little bit, but we ended up being friends, and she's still one of my best friends today.
But you think that most interactions you had in bars were more fleeting and there was
Yeah.
not even a kernel. I I don't know. I have never been good at making long-term friends. So I think in bars and clubs, I had no problem making friends that I would be friends with for 3 months before it fizzled out and went nowhere.
Mm.
So I don't think I had a problem making friends. Maybe there was a problem making long-term friends.
I mean, I think that's what I mean is like the deeper connection piece. Like, I think it's easy to meet somebody that you're like, let's go dancing again, or you know, but to
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
actually meet someone that you're like gonna like really deeply connect with, that's like pretty rare.
I find the whole like the whole making friends and like it becoming a friendship, the whole all of the ingredients there is just really weird. Like you have to be intentional in your approach. Like you have to be like, oh, I want to spend more time with you, but you also have to not be like super intense.
Yeah.
It kind of works best when you're like, oh, I could take or leave you as a friend, but also I'm going to make this effort to come and see you. So it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit weird. Because the people that I've like ended up being good friends with, I've never been like, oh my God, I totally vibe with you. I really want to be your friend. Da, da, da. It's always just people who I'm like, yeah, you're cool. Yeah.
Hmm.
And all the ones that I get really enthusiastic about, I end up chasing away.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's a complicated formula. I don't think. I mean, maybe what I'm just describing is that it's just like hard to meet people that you deeply connect with in general. But I think
Mm,
like at a bar where it's like loud and you're not necessarily like you're maybe talking more small talk, it might be a little bit harder.
mm. So, straight girls and flirting.
Yeah.
So okay, I don't care about straight girls actually. I care about flirting. So you've already admitted that you tried to flirt with people.
Yeah, sure.
What's your tactic?
I was such a one trick pony on that. I would like always just be like, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?"
Oh,
Like, so I'm like, it's an immediate, like, you kind of have to talk to me for the next like 4 minutes while your drink comes. And then like if you're not interested, you could just like walk away. It feels like
With a free drink.
it feels kind of like fair to me. I'm basically paying you for your next 5 minutes. And I mean, I had moderate success with that, but a couple, like,
And so what's your approach to conversation?
yeah, I don't know about that one. I mean, I don't know. It depends on the situation, I guess. You know,
Okay. So no tried and tested formula.
no, not a one-trick pony on that one. I mean, it would depend on, I would probably ask if they lived in town or, where they're from or
Do you come
what they
here often?
do. Do you come here often? Classic. Yeah.
There's something I just love when people ask me that. Like, are you seriously
God.
asking me this? But also,
You've been asked that?
yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I've definitely never uttered that phrase in my life. Good Lord. No.
Well,
Ugh.
try it. Go out and try it. Social experiment. See what happens.
Yeah.
But so you were always the instigator.
I don't know. I think those are the ones that are memorable because they're like,
You're plucking up the
yeah,
courage.
you're like,
Yeah.
ooh, I'm gonna do the thing. I don't know. It didn't usually go very well. As I mentioned, I've never really met anyone that I've dated that way. And then there'd be like those awkward things like that, like, oh boy, that one person with the boyfriend, like I talked to her for like 10 minutes before she was like, oh, my boyfriend. And then it got even like funnier because like his name was Chris and then he was in jail. I don't know. It was
And you
just
were
like
in
this.
jail.
And I was just, at that point, I was like, how do I extract myself from this situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not on for her not to let you know.
I don't know. Honestly, like, who knows? Like, I feel like some people were just like so clueless they didn't know that it was a queer club or anything,
We need to like make it socially acceptable to say, this isn't going very well. I'm going to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think like I have a version of that that's like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I have to pee. I'll be right back, and never come back. You know that
Oh
thing.
no. Oh, see, I always feel like that's lying.
Or like, oh, I see a friend across the, I'm gonna go say hi to Jenny over there. Oh, Jenny, and then you like tap a stranger on the back and
Yeah, maybe I need to just get more comfortable with that kind of, because what I always end up doing is just like, I think I put the onus on them to be the one that says, okay, I'm going to go now. I should just be like, right,
well, even when you're done and you're like bored and not interested.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's just a waste of time.
Or like, when you just are not connecting and they're just looking at you
Yeah,
like
actually,
baffled. And you're just like, the world could just swallow me up. This is just awful. I could make a cleaner cut at that point and just be like, okay, bye.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to practice saying goodbye to people.
I mean, back in the day, actually, like probably for like a little bit when I first moved to Northampton, I was still a smoker, and that was always like the best excuse. Oh, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette. No one can argue with that. Unless like they're like, oh, cool, let me come too. And then you're like, then you're in trouble.
Shit.
Then
Yes,
you're
that
really in
is
trouble.
bad.
Yeah.
And you can't make the excuse of not being able to hear them over the music when you're outside smoking.
Yeah, that's true. Oh gosh. Yeah, it's a little more, that's a little riskier.
But it worked for you, so.
Yeah, I still miss smoking for that reason, for the like excuse to like go be alone for 10 minutes. I wish I could just like use that. I'd be like, I'm gonna go be alone for 10 minutes, like whenever I want. It was glorious. I mean, for an introvert, glorious. Yeah.
Oh, is this like a business idea? Creating a bar with like private booths that you can go and escape into. Oh no, but then everyone would just go and have sex in there, wouldn't
Yeah,
they?
that was like,
it's difficult.
that's just like 100% what would happen.
Could you like have some kind of cone that, like, how dogs have those cones when you're trying to prevent them from biting themselves?
Yeah,
You could put the cone on and just be on your own in this like cone for 10 minutes. And everyone knows not to interrupt you.
That wouldn't be awkward at all.
But no one can see you. Your face is covered. It's fine. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I will workshop this idea and get back to you with
Okay,
final
yeah.
pitch.
I think I'd be better off like being Linus and just like bringing a blanket and putting it over my head or something. The blanket is like you can't see like me at all. I could be anybody. The whole drapery.
But then
It's your invisibility cloak, you know?
it's kind of stifling, though, isn't it? If it's covering, it's like see, but with my cone, it might be more embarrassing. But you've got the fresh air.
Yeah, there is area, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, okay, so let's get back onto Divas.
Sure.
So it sounds as though you didn't know that it had closed until we were going to have this
Yeah, I
conversation.
didn't know. Yeah, you were like, oh, do you know any like this is a closed time. I was like, I actually was like, I don't know anywhere. And then I was like, oh, I do.
So I normally ask, how did you respond when you found out that the venue was closing? But
Yeah, I was pretty bummed actually.
oh, really?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of reasons. I mean, I get sad when like the neighborhood sushi restaurant closes. Like, I just feel sad that like that when businesses don't succeed, you know? I mean, but I feel like it was a gathering place. It was like a queer community building place, and it was kind of a place where I think student life and like town life could overlap pretty well. And yeah, but I did hear that just to like put some positive spin on it. You know, I did hear I have a couple friends that still live in Northampton. And I did hear that there's like a new queer space in town. So that made me happy. I have never been there and I don't know what it's called, but
Shout out to that place.
yeah. Yeah. Everybody go on down.
And so we're now entering into the extra cheesy portion of the interview. So strap in. What did Divas teach you about yourself?
I'm not good at these questions. But I mean, I think there was just some confidence building, you know, it was a formative time. And I think that place was one of several places that kind of like helped me, you know, it was like kind of like a weird coming of age space for me. And yeah, and like a little bit of safety. I think like just having a queer space does like feel important. And basically just having a place where you feel like you belong. I grew up in a really conservative small town and I felt like an outsider and like a weirdo like my whole life. And so I really like needed that. I feel like it was really like helpful for just my sense of self and my confidence and feeling like a worthy human in the world. And that, I mean, that's just like all queer spaces, I think. And yeah, a sense of belonging. I think that was like really hard to find growing up. And I think that's what like queer bars and queer spaces have allowed for and continue hopefully to do.
Do you have any memories of divas or clubbing from your own queer scene that you want to share? Well, if you do, please get in touch. I want to create the biggest online record of people's memories and stories of queer clubbing. Go to lostspacespodcast.com and find the section Share a Lost Space and tell me all about what it is you got up to. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as Lost Spaces Pod. Find out more about Chris at their website, chrispureka.com, and make sure that you take the time to listen to their new EP. I can't recommend these beautiful folk songs enough. Lost Spaces is not only a podcast, but a concept record as well. I have been writing songs about queer venues and the people who used to live their lives there, and will be releasing songs over the coming year. You can hear the first single, which is called Well Groomed Boys, and is playing underneath my talking right this very second on all streaming platforms. If you liked this episode, I would really appreciate if you subscribed, left a review on your podcast platform of choice, or just told people who you think might be interested in giving it a wee listen too. I am Kay Anderson, and you have been listening to Lost Spaces.